Welcome to Csec Biology, the cover page. I am Mr. Wilson, and today we're going to be looking at the 2020 HSB past paper multiple choice. We're going to be going through all 60 questions for this session. So grab a friend and let's go. Question 1. The ability of a living organism to detect and respond to changes in the environment is referred to as irritability, which is of course one of those characteristics of living things. Question number 2. Which of the following organelles in the cell allow substances to pass in and out of the cell? That's going to be the responsibility of the cell membrane. And if you have forgotten these, you could go on over to our videos which cover these topics. Question number 3. Which of the following factors is not necessary for photosynthesis to take place? Of course, that's going to be oxygen, as oxygen is a product of photosynthesis, while water and carbon dioxide are going to be raw material which are needed, and of course sunlight, which is a condition, and that is also needed as well. Question number 4. An example of diffusion is the movement of oxygen from the alveoli to the capillaries, and so our answer here is going to be C for question number 4. Let's look at question number 5. Which of the following food is a good source of vitamin A? That's going to be fish liver oil. The option here is D, or one might say cod liver oil. Of course, you would have seen orange foods, but not necessarily orange. So our answer again here for 5 is going to be D. Question number 6. Which of the following cell structures traps energy from the sunlight to help in the production of simple sugar? Of course, the responsibility to trap light in the plant is going to be the chloroplast. So here our answer is going to be C for 6. Question number 7. Which of the following reagents gives the positive test for the main food product in a slice of baked potato? Here it's going to be iodine, as iodine is going to return that test for starch. It is not reducing sugar that we have there, neither is it fat nor protein. So of course your answer here could only be C for question number 7. Question number 8. Which of the following are properties of enzymes? Now look at this carefully. Now 1, they mostly work on only one substrate. That's true. They work best at a particular pH. That's true. They are not affected by temperature. That is not true. Enzymes are denatured by high temperature. So here our answer is going to be 1 and 2, which gives us A as an option for question number 8. Now we move on to question number 9, which looks at pretty much the digestive system. It refers to the following diagram of a part of the human digestive system. The liver labeled as 1, the stomach labeled as 2, and the small intestine as 3. Which sequence correctly matches each number structure to its function? So for a secretion of gastric juice, of course, gastric juice is going to come from the stomach. And of course, bile is going to be produced in the liver and absorption in the small intestine. So that is going to be 2, 1, and 3. So 2, 1, and of course 3, which makes the answer for question number 9 C. Alright? So we move on to question number 10. Which of the following types of teeth is best adapted for tearing tough pieces of food? The operative word here is tearing. So we move to the canine as if it were for a dog or a crocodile, with that type of teeth that is well suited for tearing. Our next question is question number 11. During the process of digestion, bile salts aid in. Bile is responsible for emulsifying fat. So here our answer is going to be D for 11. D. and it is circled there nicely for you. We move on down to question number 12. Refers to the following labeled diagram of a tooth. And of course, it's nicely labeled here, and a repeat diagram from 2015, one of the many things that have been repeated so far. However, the question might be a little different. Which of the labeled part contain blood vessels and nerve? That's going to be 3, which is of course the pulp cavity. So our answer for question number 12 is going to be C. Question number 13. Kwashiorkor is a deficiency disease caused by a lack of protein. Lack of protein. Don't mix it up with carbohydrate, which of course is from marasmus. For question number 13, our answer is going to be B. B. All right, we've just completed question 13, so we move on to question number 14. The process by which undigested food is eliminated from the body is called egestion. It is not excretion, as excretion is the removal of waste that has actually gone through metabolism. Undigested food has not gone through metabolism. As such, it is egestion. And of course, ingestion, it includes you taking the food in your body. Deamination is something that is left up for the liver to do. We move on to question number 15, while we say the answer for 14 is of course A. So number 15 reads, a nice diagram here from your textbook. Item 15 refers to the following drawing of a model used to demonstrate breathing in human. And we're looking at a jar there, and of course nicely labeled 1, 2, 3, and of course 4. We're supposed to answer which of the labeled part represents the diaphragm, and that's going to be 4. Our answer here for 15 is going to be D. As soon as those balloons become inflated, then D is going to move on down. So that makes it pretty much comparable to the diaphragm. Number 16. During a sprint, the muscle in the human body produces lactic acid by the process of anaerobic respiration. Lactic acid is a result of anaerobic respiration. We would have been doing aerobic respiration, but as soon as we start to, as soon as there's a production of lactic acid, we are now in the anaerobic phase of respiration. So our answer for 16 is going to be D. Question number 17. Which of the following is the correct sequence of event in mouth-to-mouth resuscitation? Now, most persons would have forgotten that this is actually something to be assessed or taught for the exam. Let's look at what's happening here. The responses are pinch the nostril. That could never be the first thing. The first thing we want to do is to tilt the head backward. Then we want to pinch the nostril. Then we want to place the mouth over the mouth of the affected person, and of course securely we do so. And the last thing is of course to remove the mouth. So our answer here is going to be C for question number 17. Please be reminded you are watching Csec Biology, the cover page. We have many other videos on our channel. You could go by and enjoy the channel and its many offering: animation, labs, IT, Voxbox, and of course notes for the lesson and lessons that are well explained. We are down to question number 18. Which of the following are true about phagocytes? Wow, phagocytes. Phagocytes are white blood cells, and they tend to have what we refer to as lobe nucleus. So here, true about phagocyte is going to be they engulf and ingest bacteria. That's true. Are a type of white blood cells, and they move by what we call using pseudopodia, which are actually false leg, and engulfed by what we call phagocytosis. So they would not have a rounded nucleus. Instead, they have a lobe nucleus. So here for question number 18, the response is going to be C. And we move on down to question number 19. During respiration, the release of energy in a cell occurs when ATP is converted to ADP. You're going to lose a phosphate group there, making it, changing it pretty much from 3-phosphate to 2-phosphate, diphosphate there. So our answer for question number 19 is going to be A. Question number 20, which of the following substances found in cigarette smoke is addictive? And that's going to be nicotine. Every day of the week, the tar will cause the cilia cells to stick to each other. Carbon monoxide, that will of course be affixed to the hemoglobin more readily than oxygen, and that's going to cause some dizziness, headache, and who knows, eventually death if it's not rectified. And carbon dioxide, of course, is not that addictive gas. It's that gas that is a product of respiration. Of course, you're going to get some whenever there is some amount of combustion and the combination of carbon and oxygen that might come out. But our answer for question 20 is going to be B, nicotine. Question 21. The double pumping of the heart allows blood rich in oxygen to be taken to the parts of the body during the second pump. So that's our answer here. Second, we have the pulmonary circulation and the systemic circulation, and of course we're looking here at the systemic circulation to be the second. So our answer for 21 is definitely going to be A. And we move on down to question number 22. And question number 2, which of the following vitamin assists in the process of blood clotting? And that's going to be vitamin K. Vitamin K. And this is pretty much straight from the textbook. We couldn't ignore the fact that D is the answer here. Not much of a work to be done. And of course, we move on to question 23. Question 23. The left side of the heart has a thicker muscular wall in order to pump blood to the rest of the body. And if you carefully look at the diagram of the heart, or a manipulative of the heart, you'll observe that the left side of the heart, the left ventricle, of course, is much thicker than the right. So our answer for 23 is going to be C. Question number 24. Bones act as levers while cartilage assists with reducing friction at the joint. Every day of the week, that's going to be the answer. So our answer is going to be D for 24. Hold bones and joints together, that is not the purpose of the cartilage. Ligaments are going to be holding bones to bones, and of course tendon, muscle to bones. So of course we understand that 24 is going to be D. Now 25, it refers to the following diagram of a type of cell, and this is of course a cell that we looked at earlier on in this lesson. It is the phagocyte. We spoke about it with a lobe nucleus, and there we have it. It's called a phagocyte or the granulocyte, and it is of course a type of white blood cell. We move on to question number 26, which refers to the following diagram of a human arm, which is nicely labeled with the scapula, the bicep, the tricep, the ulna, and of course the radius. When the arm is bent or flexed, and a bent arm or a flexed arm is of course the arm being pulled closer to your chest, the palm closer to your chest. So our answer for this is going to be D for 26, as the bicep pulls on the radius. The bicep is pulling on the radius. Definitely not the tricep. The tricep is not going to be shortened. It's actually going to be lengthened as the arm. You could pretty much put your hand. Remember, the tricep is that muscle at the lower side of the arm, and the bicep at the top. We move on over to question number 27, which is a repeat question, but sadly, while the diagram is pretty much the same, the question might be a little different. So we want to ensure that we don't go around and swat these questions A, B, C, D. We might very well get out of the exam as failure. We need to understand the question. We need to have a great appreciation for what is being asked and why the answer is what it is. So item 27 refers to the following diagram of a section through the human skin. And we have labeled the hair follicle, the sweat pore, and of course the sebaceous gland. Here it is asked in which label part represent the sweat pore, and that's going to be 2, as we showed you earlier. So our answer here is going to be B for 27. For 28, which of the following is the most severe damage? Which of the following is the most severe damage caused by prolonged wearing of high heel shoes? Now the word here to look at is the word most. So the bones in the feet becomes misaligned. That is a real severe damage. Corns and callus develop on the toes. That will happen, but that can just go away by going to see that person for a pedicure. And of course, the space between the toes tend to widen. I am not too sure of that. There is of course less support placed on the heel and feet. That is also true, but most is the word we are working with here, hence we went with A. The bones in the feet becomes misaligned, and of course you know that you're going to be enjoying some pain when it gets to that stage. We're moving on now to question 29. Which of the following responses occur in the body when a marathon runner consumes too little water? Here we're looking at ADH. More ADH will be secreted, increasing the reabsorption of water. So our answer here is going to be B29, and of course a diagram is in your textbook that could help you with the response here. Ensure you know the diagram because the question is not always like this. Question number 30, a big question here. The longest continuous bone in the human skeleton is the femur, and that is the bone that is in the leg area. We have the rib, and the rib is pretty much, you know where the rib is. It's not pretty much the longest bone. The pelvic bone is definitely not, and the humerus there in the upper arm is not the longest bone. So of course B is our answer for question number 30. We move on to question 31, which refers to the following diagram of a motor neuron, and it wants us to identify the axon, and of course the axon is going to be 3. So here our answer is going to be C for 31. 2 is going to be the myelin sheath, and of course you would have seen the dendrites there. That is of course forming the connection. So our answer here is going to be C for 31. 32. Liam, notice that his face is a repeat question from 2015. His face is flush, which means that it is red after playing football. Which of the following processes cause his face to be flushed or to be red? That's going to be vasodilation, and this happens because the blood vessels have become closer to the surface of the skin and they are carrying this blood. So what we're seeing is pretty much blood flowing through the blood vessel as a result of vasodilation. The opposite of vasodilation, if this person was pretty much cool, it would have been vasoconstriction. Alright, so the answer here for 32 is going to be C. Moving on to question 33. Question 33 refers to the following diagram showing the longitudinal section through a human kidney. There we have the cortex, the medulla, the pelvis, and the ureter. Which of the following label structure contains a loop of Henle? That is going to be the medulla. Of course, looking at the medulla, it's going to be here, the loop of Henle. Remember, up here we're going to have the Bowman's capsule, and then we're going to come down here with the loop of Henle, proximal convoluted tubule, and of course we have a collecting duct over here. So this, the medulla, is going to have the loop of Henle. So of course D is the answer for 33. That's D is the answer for 33. We move on to question 34. An example of a cranial reflex, which of course is an involuntary action, is of course a pupil reflex. Now the knee jerk, that is a spinal reflex, And dropping a hot object doesn't mean that it's a reflex action. Alright, it might just be in your hand and you just can't afford to hold it any longer. Eating food when hungry, that is definitely not a reflex action. So our answer here for 34 is going to be B. Let's move on to question 35. Question 35 wants us to look at the eye. It refers to the following diagram of a longitudinal section through a human eye. And nice, the X there labels the iris. Let's see what's happening down here. The part labeled X is, of course, the iris, not the cornea, not the ciliary muscle, and not the circular muscle. Definitely not the circular muscle. All right, so iris is going to be your answer for 35. Ensure you know the diagram of the eye for your exam. Here we go again. 36. The central nervous system is made up of the brain, of course, and the spinal cord. Please don't be mistaken by the spinal nerve. That's something different. And don't be mistaken by the cranial nerve. That is also something different. Of course, the cranial nerves would have referred to those that are going to the eye, the ears, and so on. And the spinal nerve are those that are going to the other lower parts of the body. And the spinal cord, you know, it's pretty much a tail of the brain. So our answer for 36 is going to be A. 37. Which of the following birth control method is considered to be the least reliable? Least reliable, yes, the condom will burst. Oral contraceptive, you will forget it someday. Intrauterine device, it's there. However, the rhythmic sex, you never know how things will change. The biological processes, of course. B is going to be our answer for 37. We think that the rhythmic sex is pretty much chance sex, or chance contraceptive. So B is the answer for 37. Moving on to question 38. Which of the following comparison is not, and I highlight not, though it was already highlighted, you need to do the same for your exam, true for nervous and hormonal control. Now, nervous control, not true. Chemical messages travel across the synapses. Yes, that happens. Electrical messages travel along the nerve. It's not really electric, but it's of course something like electric. The response is usually short-lived. Well, depending on what you consider to be short-lived and what it is doing. But day to day, I can walk, and definitely that is not short-lived. So, however, the answer here is going to be A. Messages travel slowly and take long to have effect. That is not true. Not true. Messages travel fast and have a rapid effect. That is not true. So we satisfy not here. A being the answer for 38. We move on to 39. Fertilization occurs in the oviduct when the sperm fuses with the ovum. This is a very interesting question. As sperms are released, sperm being released, we don't even know where the penis is to release that sperm. B, ovum is released. The ovum can be released and there is no sperm there, so of course that couldn't be. Now, sexual intercourse take place. When sexual intercourse take place, it doesn't mean that there's going to be fusion of a male and female gamete. So the best answer here is going to be D for 39. So we move on to 40. The main reason for practicing family planning is, and if your choice here is different, you could just leave it in the comment and just tell me why you would choose something different. So the first thing we're saying that's the main reason is that it makes families richer. That is not true. I know many persons who don't have any children and they are as poor as poor. And the other one, B, improve the economy of a country. Not because persons don't have any children mean the country is going to be rich, because you need persons to drive production so that you can make money for your country. C, it gives individual more leisure time. I know persons who have a lot of children and they still have a lot of leisure time. And I know persons who don't have any kids and they don't have any leisure time. So our best answer here is going to be D. It ensures sufficient resource for each family member. So if you have too many children and you really don't have the means to take care of them, then the resource is going to be limited. So of course, when you limit the amount of children that you have, you might be able to have just enough resource to take care of them. So 40 here is D is the answer we have chosen for 40. However, if your answer is different, share it with us in the comments. Chromosome 41. Chromosomes are made of protein and DNA. Alright, and then we have ribonucleic acid, RNA, and we have deoxynucleic acid at A. So A is the answer there for 41, not starch nor fat. We move on over to question 42. Which of the following are true about the fallopian tube? It facilitates the passage of the ovum to the uterus. Site for fertilization of the ovum occur. It does not produce the ovum, that is produced by the ovary. So our answer here is going to be 1 and 2, A for your answer for 42. 43. Which of the following row shows correct examples of genetic and environmental variation? Oh, this is going to be a tricky one, and if your views are different, I'll definitely entertain them in the chat. But let me just explain to you. Height can somewhat be an environmental variation. Height can be both genetic and environmental variation, though the environmental variation might be really, really low. Now, eye color is going to be genetic variation. Tongue rolling, though thought to be genetic variation, tongue rolling can be learned. You can learn to roll your tongue over time. Height, we mentioned that already. So the true thing we know here is that eye color is, of course, genetics. You're going to inherit it. And we went for tongue rolling because we know that it could be genetic, and we know that there are conditions where persons have trained themselves over time to roll their tongue. So of course, D is the answer we chose for 43, but of course, your views might be respectfully different, and we'll definitely entertain that. 44. Good health may be best defined as the absence of disease as well as complete physical well-being. No. The absence of disease as well as complete social well-being. No. A state of complete physical and economical well-being. No, those are not the best answers. Best is the operative word there. C is the answer for 44. A state of complete physical, social, and mental well-being. Those words are keywords: physical, social, and mental. So your body parts are intact, your head space is alright, and you have enough friends. You're a happy person, so to speak. So 44C is the answer. For 45, in which of the following structure is an athlete? Sorry. 45. In which of the following structures is an allele for eye color located? It's going to be in the chromosomes. Alright, and we move on to question 46. The item refers to the following diagram of a mother breastfeeding her baby. And of course, what kind of immunity is illustrated by the activity above? It is going to be natural, acquired, passive. Natural from the mother, acquired to the child, and of course it's passing from the mother to the child. So B is going to be the answer for 46. Remember, if it is active, it means that the organism is making it itself. All right. So it is, of course, natural, acquired, passive, coming from the mother. It's natural. So, of course, B is the answer for 46. We move on to question 47. I do hope that you are following. If you have not yet subscribed, please like, share, and subscribe. And leave us something in the comment as to your views and, of course, what other resources we could provide for you to make you successful in your exams. 47. Antibiotics are chemicals which can safely be taken into the body. They do not harm human cells, but they destroy bacteria. Viruses are ever changing, so antibiotics are not working on viruses. Mold is a type of fungus, and fungus are usually on the outside of a body. So for 47, the answer there is going to be D. Moving on to 48. During asexual reproduction, an organism produces new organisms that are identical to the parent by the process of mitosis. All right. So in mitosis, we are having the diploid number of chromosomes being passed on, while in meiosis, it is the haploid. Diploid meaning the full number, haploid meaning half the number. So B would give you half the number, A would give you the full number. You look exactly like the parents. So of course, our answer for 48 is going to be A. 49. Which of the following disease is caused by a fungus? It's definitely not typhoid, it's not gonorrhea, not tuberculosis. The only answer there is going to be ringworm, B, for 49. Question 50, and doing well. SEMA has the following signs and symptoms: constriction of the bronchial tube, coughing, wheezing. She is most likely suffering from. So remember, signs are those things that you can see or detect, while symptoms are those that the patient or the affected individual will have to tell us about. So 50, the answer here is going to be asthma, a respiratory issue, not malaria, not typhoid, not tuberculosis. 51. Which of the following cells does the AIDS virus attack? The T cells are what we refer to as a T lymphocyte. So 51 here is going to be D. We're moving on to 52. Infected person displays signs and symptoms of disease. Which of the following sign and symptom are correctly classified? All right. So we just explain the difference between signs and symptom. So sign, sore throat, the person could open their mouth and you could see the sore throat. Headache, that's a symptom. The person would have to tell you they're having a symptom. Sign, shivering, you can see the person shivering. And of course, I've explained everything on one side. So our answer here is going to be B. Sore throat is a sign, headache is a symptom. So 52, your answer is going to be B. For 53, which of the following gases contribute most to the greenhouse effect? Of course, that is going to be carbon dioxide. I mean, it is in a large portion there in the atmosphere, trapping pretty much the heat on the Earth's surface, and of course, a big contributor to the greenhouse effect. Sulfur dioxide, the big thing about sulfur dioxide is that it causes acid rain and irritate the eyes and throat. Carbon monoxide affixes itself readily to oxyhemoglobin. All right, so we move on to question 54. As a reminder that question 53, the answer there is going to be A. So question 54, we talk about the Anopheles mosquito is known to spread. How I teach this lesson, I usually tell my students that the ADs is for dengue, dengue, and Anopheles is for malaria. So the answer here is going to be B, for 54. The Anopheles mosquito is responsible for spreading malaria. Then we move on down to 55. Which of the following is the correct sequence when testing water for bacteria? I know that a lot of persons are watering down the HSB as a subject. Persons are saying that HSB is a watered down version of bio. Might I correct you here and now? There are two different subjects with some parts of the syllabus that are similar, but the outcome or the objectives of both exams, they are different. HSB is not a watered down version of biology. It is a subject that stands alone, as you would have Cape Biology for biology. Environmental science at Cape fits nicely into that slot for human and social biology. Let's move on with this question. We want to find out the correct sequence when testing water for bacteria. So the first thing we want to do, we want to place the water, the sample that we're collecting, in a sterilized bottle. Then we want to pour the water onto a sterile agar. We want to pour it in a sterile agar in a sterile petri dish. That means everything is clean and free from any other foreign matter. Just what we want to work with is there. The next thing we want to do, we want to incubate the petri dish at about 35 degrees Celsius, and some might say up to about 35 degrees Celsius for at least 24 hours, meaning that we're going to get the temperature up there. And then the last thing we want to do is to examine the agar in the petri dish for the presence of coliform colonies. All right, that's the organism we're looking for. So our answer here is definitely going to be C, as you would have seen me writing there the sequence 1, 2, 3, 4. So C is our answer for question 55. Now we're moving on to question 56, and it's going to be a little nice question as we move closer to the end of the exam paper. So we look carefully at question number 56. The process of adding and calculating the amount of chemical that is effective for killing bacteria in water treatment plant before water is distributed to customer is called chlorination. Chlorination is going to kill the bacteria. If you are from a rural area like I am, of course everyone would know who is responsible for adding that chlorine to the water each morning before you start drinking. So answer here for 56 is going to be C. For 57, the process by which water vapor changes to water is known as condensation. So our answer for 57 is going to be D. We move on over to 58. Compaction is done at landfill in order to control dust? No. In order to control smell? No. In order to recover material that have been sent to the recycle to be recycled? Of course, we're going to be using machines to do that, but of course the most suitable answer here is going to be to get rid of a space that may harbor pests. So we don't want to have the garbage all spread out that pests can access it. So what we're going to compact it to reduce the space, and of course makes less space for those vector. So our answer here for 58 is going to be C. For 59, which of the following gases is produced in a landfill site? Oh my works, that's going to be methane. And can I remind you that a cattle would be producing some methane as well. The bad thing about methane being produced in a landfill is that when it gets really hot, the temperature could ignite the methane and set the landfill ablaze. As such, landfills are now being designed with vent pipes. They have been designed with areas to collect the leachate. So I tell you, the technology is moving very, very fast, and makes our answer for 59 be D, methane, which is of course the smallest alkane, CH4. 60. Which of the following substances is biodegradable? This is a wonderful word, biodegradable, or biodegradation you might be seeing some places. It looks at how things are decomposed naturally using microorganisms. So here wood would decompose very easily. Plastic is a major concern. Unless it's biodegradable, it's definitely not going to decompose anytime soon, probably about 700 years. And of course, concrete is going to be very difficult to decompose as well. And not to mention styrofoam. We have been getting rid of styrofoam because of a negative effect that they have on the environment. So our answer here for 60 is going to be A. Now, might I remind you that you should not try to SWOT the answers, but of course to read the questions and have a good appreciation why the answer was chosen. Hence, you are advised to use your textbook to assist you as you go through this paper. You're going to go through the paper, practice 1 time, practice 2 times, practice until you can do all questions very well. I must commend you on trying to understand the circuit before you get there, as you are now practicing papers that you will do well in the exam. If you have not yet, please be reminded to like, share, and of course subscribe. You've been listening to Csec Biology, the cover page, and I am Mr. Wilson. Please be reminded to join us on a Friday, Wednesday, and Sunday at 5:05 for our face-to-face classes. Thanks much for watching.